Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the podcast, where we sit down with some of the sharpest minds in the management consulting industry. This episode is powered by Clubhouse AI. At Clubhouse AI, we help management consulting firms break free from outdated lead gen methods like networking events and referrals, which often feel more like wishful thinking than a real strategy. Our battle-tested, data-driven client acquisition system brings in your ideal clients with no chasing, no guesswork, just predictable, compounding growth. If you're in the management consulting industry and you're looking to scale your business and see results within the first week, DM us the word growth for a free consultation. Now, without further ado, let's jump right into it. Today, we have a very special guest, Adam Yuro, founder and CEO of Yuro. Thank you so much for being here today. Why don't you go ahead and give me an introduction of yourself and tell me about a little bit about your story and what you do?
Thank you for having me. My name is Adam Yuro, as you said. I'm the founder and CEO of Yuro. Yuro is an all-in-one white glove e-commerce agency. Unlike other e-commerce agencies that focus purely on one marketplace, we help e-commerce companies with every aspect of their business. And my day-to-day job is to find new clients, support my team, and make sure that everything's run smoothly.
Awesome. Would you be able to dive deeper into what your day-to-day looks like and exactly how that looks in your bigger role in the company?
Yeah, so I basically start my day with making sure that every client's projects are being handled. They're ahead of schedule most times. And if they're not, I have to jump in and make sure they're getting it done. I work with a lot of 1099 contractors to make sure that we get everything that we need to get done. The reason we do it that way is because we don't always need a Walmart expert or an eBay expert, but it's great to have them on call when we do need them. And from there, it's just making sure that our social media is taken care of, our blog posts are getting done, we're responding to any inquiries and making sure that we're setting up the meetings that we need to set up, as well as going to conventions. And I'll be at one within this month, and I'll be the face there to connect to Euro. So if you're at a convention that we're at, I would gladly take 5, 10, 15 minutes, step aside and see what we can do together.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. So it looks like you're rather than being the groundwork there, you're doing more high level stuff and management of the overall business. That sounds a lot like the CEO role there. Now that we've kind of gauged yourself and where you're at, we'll go a little bit broader here. How has AI kind of impacted your business or growth strategy?
So AI has definitely impacted the e-commerce industry as a whole. There's so many different AIs being built basically every day that do different functions. And I've noticed it from an agency owner every day. I'm using AI to do the work. I'm using AI for outreach. I'm using AI for listing creation, image generation. And then on top of that, I've noticed that a lot of roles online, you're seeing that you need to have the knowledge of how to use these AI tools. If you're not knowledgeable on how to use them, you're not going to succeed nowadays. I've noticed it a lot when it comes to basically anything e-commerce. They don't no longer is there the account manager, the lister, the graphic designer. You need to know how to do it all, and you need to know how to use AI to make sure that you're doing it correctly.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like people used to request that you know how to use all the Microsoft features or the Google features. You had to be Adobe certified or something like that, Microsoft certified. Now you got to be AI certified. You got to know how to use ChatGPT, Grok, Copilot, all the other different tools that are out there. That's amazing. I completely agree with you. I heard you mentioned you guys do outreach as well with AI. I'm curious because that's what I specialize in. I'm curious what you guys actually do for that specifically.
It's generally used to find out information about the companies.
Gotcha.
There's obviously a wealth of knowledge on the internet, and I
Yeah.
could spend, the time sourcing all of that information, or I can just, write a prompt
Right.
into ChatGPT and be like, hey, tell me where this company stands at this time, and if
Right.
if it spits back out something that I'm just like, oh, they have a couple of pain points that I can definitely reach out about,
Yeah.
I will. If it comes back telling me that they're growing 300% year over year, then they're obviously not somebody that needs my services.
Right, right. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, it's definitely so knowledgeable. On a Pat's podcast, one of the guests spoke about how he uses AI as a thought partner to kind of almost be a second consultant to him as well to provide and look into that information in the companies as well. I think that's amazing, especially for the consulting and management consulting industry as well. I love it. Well, now we've gone over that. What's kind of been working well for you guys as a company? What's been frustrating for you?
Overall, everything's been running pretty smoothly. The difficulty that we're seeing right now is finding new clients that actually need our help. As mentioned, everybody's using AI nowadays.
Yeah.
So when, I'm finding a client that actually, needs our help, it is because they have no technical skill. And or they're a wholesaler that doesn't necessarily understand the e-commerce game. But, outside of that, we are finding a good amount of clients. We are finding a lot of people that still need that personal touch and don't want to 100% rely on AI to run their company for them. I know personally, I use AI for a lot of things, but I always have to double check it because I catch errors constantly when it comes
Right.
to those things. You'll be asking it to write, uh, SEO enriched product description for a pen, and all of a sudden it starts talking about, George Washington for some reason, and you're like, that doesn't make sense.
Right.
So, even with the strides that AI has been given, there's still needs to be a person there making sure that what's coming out is actually accurate.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. I always say that human intelligence is, or artificial intelligence is best paired with human intelligence. It's maybe in a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years, we'll be at the point where AI can do the same thing a human can do. But right now, we're at the point where, like you say, yeah, we got to go and double check. But it's also a great starting point and a good thing for research as well. But yeah, definitely got to double check that work. I've had some interesting things been punched out before. So yeah, that's amazing. Why don't you kind of elaborate on what you do for these businesses, these e-commerce businesses that you're helping?
Yeah, so right now we actually just partnered up with a company called Retail Cloud. They're the owners of Until Gone, Daily Steals, Pick Your Plum, and we're helping them with client acquisition. With that, we already have the contacts within the industry. We already have, businesses that are looking to do a marketplace expansion, which is another service we offer, but actually have being teamed up and partnered with that with Retail Cloud, we're able to, get them in faster, set up quicker. There's no, latency in the ability to work with them. But, that's also comes with, the territory of knowing the people in the industry. One of the reasons that marketplace expansion is basically the best part of what we do is because of the over a decade of, connections and relationships that have been built. So if somebody wants to expand into a marketplace that they might not necessarily know anything about, but they know it will do good for their product, I have the connections there to reach out, get them up and running, and, deals and promotions and stuff like that right out of the gate instead of, spending 3 to 6 months just to get the products up and then, finding the correct contacts and reaching out to get those deals and promotions running. I'm able to get those deals and promotions set up before the product listing is even created. And then once that product is created and up and running, the promotion will go off within the first week or two of that. And it helps drive a ton of traffic to the products as well as give it a great first launch when it gets up on that site.
Awesome. Yeah, it's like a an expert go-to-market strategy there. I love that. What's kind of your experience that's led to being where you're at today and being able to offer this expertise to these other businesses?
Yeah, so my career started about a decade ago. I was in a warehouse role that I just needed a job.
Mhm.
And I got in there. The warehouse was a disaster, and I helped organize it. And the owner saw that I had way more potential than just being a pick packer. And he taught me customer service, then he taught me the sales side of things, and then the account management side of things. And from there, I just kept, wanting to learn. It was something that actually made me want to wake up and go to work in the morning. So I kept, learning. Any chance I had, I would learn more. I started my own company with that guy that was a tattoo supply business, and we did majority of our sales online through that. So I got to learn, how to sell that kind of stuff also online. And from there, I ended up, going to a wholesaler that needed help landing in the e-commerce world. And I continued, building the connections and the relationships. But I noticed that over time, I kept, getting to these places, spending a year, maybe two at them, and then I would kind of hit a plateau because I got everything streamlined. I got everything running smoothly. So I wanted a challenge, so I'd move on. And over time, I realized my resume was starting to look like I was just hopping from job to job. And could never find something I was happy with, or these places weren't happy with me, depending on how you looked at it. So I decided, instead of continuing to have these 1 to 2 year stints at places, I would just start my own business, and I can do 1 to 2 year stints with all of these different companies and not have my resume and profile, LinkedIn profile, look like I am a completely unreliable person.
I love it. Yeah, you took the leap of faith there and made the decision to start a business. It's always one of the best decisions a person can make. And I can I see what you mean there. And you said that the LinkedIn and the resumes start to look a little crazy when you're jumping around. That's awesome. So is that what inspired you to start your business? Was their resume and the LinkedIn, or was there something greater that made you want to be a business owner?
Well, I always wanted to be a business owner. When I was young, I had a friend and we had a lemonade stand outside of a inspection station because, that's where the people were. It was hot out. People were sitting there.
Right.
Setting up a lemonade stand right there, made perfect sense. And, then I had the tattoo supply company and I loved that. It was fun. I enjoyed it because it was something of my own. I got the logo tattooed on my hand even because I just had that much faith in it. And it was a great ride. It ended more abruptly than I hoped, but it was a great ride. And then over the years, I noticed, after a layoff here, a layoff there, the last full-time job I had, I was laid off from. And luckily I started Yuro about a couple months before that, and the reason I did that was because one of the longest tenured people there ended up getting laid off, and I was like, if he's not safe, then I'm not safe. And I decided that I'd start Euro, and then when that inevitability of that division being shut down and the entire team being laid off, I already had something going, and I haven't really looked back since.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think it's a common misconception that people think that a regular 9 to 5 job or whatever it looks like to you is more stable than being a business owner or entrepreneur. I think it's highly skewed because it's like you said, you can get laid off here, laid off there. Whole teams get laid off at once. If you're running your own business, you're in charge of your own destiny and you have control over your career and what your future looks like. Yeah, you might fail a business here and there, but you're gonna get fired from one or two businesses in your career regardless. But at least if you have your own company, you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're in control of that fate there, rather than being laid off by someone else, by someone else's decisions. I think it might even be more secure to be a business owner.
That's how I feel about it at this point, because it's, when that division got laid down, it was no fault of my own. It wasn't because of the way I worked or anything like that. It was just the company decided to go in a different direction.
Right.
And with Euro, if I don't make the money to pay my bills and do all that, that's on me. That's no one else's fault but my own. And I kind of enjoy that because it definitely keeps the fire underneath me because
Yeah.
there have been months then, a few times that, you know, the leads and everything kind of dried up for a while and I had to survive off of the money that I saved up. But then that also put more of a fire under me because, I didn't want to see that what I earned dry up.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely what do you call it? You've got ownership and you've got a little more passion in what you do rather than being, oh, I work here, I work there. It's your baby and you want to see it do well. I love it. Well, now we got off topic a little bit. That might be my fault. I steered you in the wrong direction there. But back to the bigger picture, what are you guys looking to do in the next 6 to 12 months? What are your goals you're trying to achieve?
Within the next 6 months, I want to at least double the clientele that we have. Within the next year, I want to at least have one full-time employee working for us that's not a 1099 contract, someone that, would be my right-hand man or woman and make sure that, their expertise is something that's outside of my expertise, where I might be lacking, they can pick up the slack. And, that goes both ways. I've worked in a lot of teams where everybody had the same skills, so nobody was learning. If something went wrong, nobody knew how to fix it. And I liked the teams that I was on where I had somebody that had knowledge way outside of mine and they had a different perspective on things. And with that, we were able to build something greater than I would have been able to do on my own because I had my way of doing it, and my way of doing it, it was successful and we made money and it was growing. But having that outside perspective coming in and being like, hey, if you tweak that image a little bit or change the color scheme just slightly here, it could drive more traffic and, doing A/B tests with those kind of recommendations and finding out like, oh wow, that one little like changing the hue of red just slightly did end up driving more traffic, was something I would have never thought of on my own.
Right. Some things that you might overlook, someone else might have some more expertise on. I'm a big believer in don't be the smartest person in the room. Always have someone that will be able to offer a different perspective, maybe a better perspective, maybe yours, but someone to bounce ideas off as well. I definitely think that's valuable to a lot of solopreneurs and business owners out there. And yeah, that's awesome. So when you say you want to double your clients, where are you guys at currently and what's doubling mean for you?
Right now, we're at 8 steady clients that are giving us steady work. And then, the partnership we just made, that's an additional thing. That's 100% brand new, and we're trying to figure out the footing for that.
Awesome.
And, we're looking to double that. We want to get
Yeah.
to that 16 client mark. We want to get to, maybe another partnership with another marketplace or marketplaces. So when we do inevitably, find clients that want to grow, it's a very easy transition versus, having to set up the calls with the account managers and all of that. It's just, hey, this is what we're doing. Let's get on a call with them and get this going.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds like you guys are doing pretty good already. I mean, it doesn't sound like a little rinky-dink operation. Yeah, that sounds awesome. Eight clients is pretty good, especially if they're paying you well. And yeah, that's definitely something that a lot of business owners I would say are looking to do is go from the lifestyle business of just kind of paying the bills or paying where you want to be, making your life a little bit better to growing and scaling and multiplying and making it into a real large business. And it's definitely the point where you'd be able to make that higher as well. It's awesome. Well, we've covered pretty much everything that I wanted to cover today. I think it's been an amazing podcast. Before you go, I want to give you the opportunity to share something to the audience. What's the biggest lesson that you've learned along your journey as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a consultant that's helped you to be where you are today?
Get out of your head. That's definitely the biggest thing is get out of your head. As humans, we doubt ourselves.
Yeah.
We put what where we want to get on a pedestal that's too high for us to reach. And if we continue to do that, you're never going to succeed. And that's something
Yeah.
that I had a very hard time with, especially in those, slower months of like, maybe I should just go find another 9 to 5. But if you want to be successful as a business owner, you have to get through that mindset and get to the
Yeah.
mindset of like, I'm going to do this no matter what, and you'll be very successful.
Yeah, I like the idea of that's amazing. One of the best ones we've had so far, and I think I'm a firm believer in manifestation, and if you can believe you can do it, then you can. I like that you say get out of your own head because that's true. We all need to get out of our own way. We're all of our biggest haters, our worst enemy, and yeah, I mean, especially starting my business, I had to decide to invest my own money and say, you know what, this money is sitting around doing nothing. I need to make this work for me. I'd rather take a risk here and hope that it creates a career for me and a better life for me than not taking action, not taking a risk, and just sitting and trying to be okay with who I am. And I love the way you said that's amazing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it's definitely something that it took me a while to understand myself throughout my career because it was always that I don't know if I'm good enough for this kind of thought process that kept me from hitting that next level.
Right.
And I know that when I finally got broke through that is when I started seeing the most success.
Yep, yep. You gotta break through what you think is normal and what you think is right for you and take action day after day. You can't just take action once and then hope that you become a millionaire the next day. You gotta keep taking risks, keep taking action to try and be better the next day. And I like it. Yeah, that's amazing. I love it.
And experimentation, that's a big
Yeah,
one. Just keep experimenting. Like Yuro, when it started, it was just going to be a traditional drop ship e-commerce company. And then because, I was like, that's easy. I don't have to put time really that much time into it. And then I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to just be another drop ship store. I wanted to help other companies. And yeah, I have a couple of products up on our site, but it's all business related. It's stuff that companies that I help need to continue growing their own companies.
right. Yeah, I like that as well. You don't gotta get it right the first time. You're not gonna be an expert from the beginning. If if you look at Jeff Bezos, he started a book company. He had the Kindle Fire, he had the book company, that's what Amazon was, and now he's the biggest distributor of everything in the world. He's a multi-billionaire, one of the richest people in the world, and he started as a book company. You don't need to get it right the first time. You're gonna make mistakes, and the mistakes only make you better. They only make you smarter. They only make you sharper and a better business owner, entrepreneur. And yeah, I don't think anyone can go wrong with starting a business unless it's something that's a little outdated. But yeah, there's really nothing.
Yeah, don't get into print media right now. That's not gonna
No, don't start a newspaper company. Don't start something like that. But as long as you're an educated person and you got a good head on your shoulders and you know where you want to go and you're dedicated, you're driven and you've got what it takes, then you can start a business and you can make a bunch of mistakes. Maybe you'll lose a little bit of money, but that'll just give you some motivation to make it back. And I think it's very valuable what you shared. And I appreciate your time on the podcast. And I think this is going to be a fun one to put out there.
I enjoyed my time here and I hope to, you know, see you down the line and work together again.
Of course. Thanks for coming, Adam.
Thank you.